Listen to the ancient Egyptians. There's a small ruinous temple at Giza. It's nestled next to the humble subsidiary pyramids on the eastern face of the plateau. Where in the 19th century there's found a stela that took the inventory of the temple's cultic items. This inventory gave name to the stela itself, the inventory stela. And among a list of the statuettes contained in the temple, there was a curious inscription that read, "Long live the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, Khufu. Given life, he found the house of Isis, mistress of the pyramid, by the side of the hollow of the Sphinx, and he built his pyramid beside the temple of this goddess, and he built a pyramid for the king's daughter, Hetnutzen, beside this temple. The king of Horamaket, Horus in the horizon, is on the south side of the house of Isis, mistress of the pyramid. He restored the statue, all covered in painting, of the guardian of the atmosphere who guides the wind with his gaze. He replaced the back part of the Neme's headdress, which was missing, with gilded stone. This figure of this god, cut in stone, is solid and will last to eternity, keeping its face looking always to the east." Much of the debate surrounding the inventory stela is concerned with whether or not it dates to the 4th dynasty or to the 26th. And Egyptologists have labeled it a pious fraud, in which a later king of the 26th dynasty borrows the name of Khufu to cloak his operations at Giza in glory and to promote the antiquity of the cult of Isis at Giza. And while I have little doubt that the stela does indeed date to the 26th dynasty, a consideration that seems universally neglected is the possibility that it speaks to a widely believed tradition of the ancient Egyptians. It's dismissed as propaganda because it counters the narrative of conventional attribution of the Sphinx to Khufu's son Khafre. Instead of respecting the ancient Egyptians of the Saite period, who are undeniably relating to us a tradition very different from that taught by Egyptologists. Dr. Mark Lenner, one of the world's leading Egyptologists focused on the Giza Plateau and pyramids, writes that the story on the stela was no doubt told to give greater antiquity and authenticity to the fledgling cult of Isis. But the ancient Egyptians are not doing this. They're making a number of claims. They're saying the Pyramid of Khufu was beside the Temple of Isis, not the Great Pyramid. But the wording insinuates Khufu's pyramid was one of the smaller subsidiary pyramids by which the Temple of Isis was flanked. If the priests of the Saite period were attempting to glorify their own association to the ancient cult of Khufu, why didn't they do so by highlighting the awesome nature of Khufu's pyramid as the Great Pyramid instead of relegating it to the same stature as his daughters? Khufu found the Sphinx and repaired damage to the headdress that we know occurred sometime in the ancient past. That damage, believed to have been done from a lightning strike, can still be seen on the Sphinx today. Once again, the question beckons us. If the priests were attempting to falsify a tradition linking the activities of the glorious King Khufu to their own cult, why wouldn't they assign the carving of the Sphinx to Khufu instead of reporting that he had merely repaired it? Why wouldn't they glorify the achievements of Khufu as he who had built the greatest pyramid in the history of their civilization? In actuality, the stela seems to counter the claim of Egyptologists that it was exploiting the name of Khufu to glorify their own cult. There's nothing in the wording of the story related there that praises Khufu. It's simply the telling of an ancient Egyptian tradition that maintained that Khufu found the Sphinx and built his pyramid next to the temple then being used to worship Isis. While Egyptologists dismiss the inventory seal as not having any historical validity because it's not contemporary with the 4th dynasty, they hypocritically rally around an inscription from the so-called Dream Stela of Thutmose IV that sits between the two paws of the Sphinx. When it was first uncovered by Maspero in the 19th century, he recorded that it contained, without context, the cartouche, which was the royal name of Khafre. But This stela was erected 1,000 years after the reign of Khafre, and the cartouche, which is now eroded, was surrounded by damaged, illegible inscriptions. The cartouche was there, but we have no idea what it was a reference to. Since the dream stela itself was a recording of repair work undertaken on the Sphinx by Thutmoses, could it not have equally recorded repairs commissioned by kings of the 4th dynasty? Is that what that cartouche of Khafre was referring to? There's no reason to assume that the cartouche of Khafre had anything to do with attribution, and to accept this as foundational evidence for the Sphinx belonging to Khafre while ignoring the inventory stela is problematic, to say the least. Indeed, there is no contemporary attribution of the Sphinx or the Great Pyramid to the 4th dynasty rulers. The weight of evidence, at least from a literary perspective, is not with the orthodoxy assigning its origins to the works of Khafre's craftsmen. As the inventory stela relates to us, the ancient Egyptians believed, at least by the 26th dynasty, that the Great Sphinx was found and repaired by Khufu. And I don't think it's wise to ignore them. Be sure to hit like and subscribe to stay up to date with everything from Archaic Mysteries.